And my first guest this week joins me in studio, Mr. Gil Gillis. He's the CEO of Mutual Merchant Services Incorporated, stock symbols MUTM. Gil, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for having me.
Now, Gil, Mutual Merchant Services describes itself as a single-source provider of financial services, offering a variety of products and services to merchants. Can you give us a general overview of the company?
Absolutely. If you were to walk into a restaurant and use your credit card, they would swipe it through a terminal. We provide that terminal. We capture the transaction. We move the money from the cardholder to the merchant.
Okay.
That's basically what we do. We're the processor. We're not a card issuer. We strictly capture transactions and move transactions. So we have none of the liability of a card issuing company.
Well, here in the 21st century, I mean, cash is kind of becoming an endangered species. I mean, I can't recall the last time that I've paid cash. You mentioned a restaurant. I can't recall the last time I paid cash in a restaurant. I mean, this must be a burgeoning industry.
It is. It started about, really got kicked off in the mid-'80s when it went from paper to electronic, and I happened to be in the industry at that time during that conversion, so I'm considered one of the older guys. And because of the relationships that I've developed over the years, that's really enabled us to do some really remarkable things here recently.
Okay. Now, you also provide actually a wide range of credit card processing services. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Absolutely. We provide everything from check guarantees, programs to bill paying, where an individual can, we can set an apartment complex up where the people live in that apartment can walk down and pay all their utility bills.
Okay.
We provide ACHing for large companies that want to ACH payroll, move it electronically rather than write checks. We provide that services. We also provide food rebates to restaurants, meaning that, for instance, this past couple of weeks, my wife sat down and clipped coupons out of the paper. She saved $60 or whatever. A restaurant has the same right to rebates on the products that they buy that they use in restaurants. So that's a new thing that we started promoting, and it's really, really good. And the profit margins are real high in it and very low on labor.
Stock symbols MUTM, Mutual Merchant Services Incorporated. For more information, give us a call, 888-259-4449. Gil, what type of client best represents the typical businesses that you serve?
Well, fortunately, we don't have a typical client. We can handle anything from a very, very small merchant to large resorts. There is really no typical client. Anyone who handles electronic transactions is a candidate for us.
Well, of course, earlier this week, right before the holiday, as a matter of fact, the company issued an important press release. Tell us about that.
Correct. We have a relationship with a company called Zion Industries. And Zion, they handle relationships with large Christian networks and Christian organizations. And Zion became what we call an independent sales office for us. And they recently brought in 3 large accounts that's going to add some $12 million a year to our processing center. And that's just the beginning.
Well, now, congratulations on that, by the way. What really impressed me about your company is you are achieving meteoric growth in what many of us are describing as a challenging economic environment. How are you pulling that off?
Well, merchants and people are looking for more economical ways to operate. And we bring that to them. We bring profit margins that they normally wouldn't have such as the rebate back to the restaurants. Is one thing. Another thing, people are starting to use electronic transactions to make donations to their churches, to pay the bills of schools, etc.
Well, now, of course, we are smack dab here in the middle of the holiday shopping season. I was mentioning at the top of the program, and I'm not so sure it's going to be as bad as some of the analysts are saying it's going to be. I think consumers as a whole will still go out and do holiday shopping. This must be a very, very busy time for you people.
It is. It is. And we already see it spooling up. More and more people, like you say, are using debit cards. Even though they're not using credit cards, we still have transaction fees that we earn on a debit card transaction. So either way that they do a transaction is fine with us. And like I say, the stores, there's a lot more shopping going on the internet.
Of course.
Absolutely. That we capture those transactions.
Yeah, that's really interesting you bring that up because, of course, with online shopping, you can figure out a way to do some savings because you're not, running around dealing with parking and, you get into the malls. Kids always get hungry in the malls, and next thing you know, you probably spent 15% more than you were planning on spending, and that doesn't even make it under the tree. I found this interesting on your website. The company indicates it operates in a high-growth, low overhead manner. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
I'd be happy to. Because of my length of time in the industry, we outsource a lot of the services that we need rather than having some 80 employees like I've had in the past. We're able to trim down and run a very lean crew of about 15 people. And I know how to outsource a lot of our transaction work now rather than have to do it internally, such as the risk and fraud controls, some of those things.
So we're, basically the battle cry, I guess, of business in the 21st century is lean, mean operation and trim off all the fat.
That's correct.
You didn't arrive here at this interview in your own corporate jet, I take it.
Oh, no. No, I didn't.
Once again, Mutual Merchant Services Incorporated, stock symbols MUTM. For more information, please call us toll-free, 888-259-4449. Well, let's talk about revenues, because your company has set a goal for itself by the end of next year of $200 million in annualized processing volume. Based on what you've seen so far, do you think, how do you feel about those numbers?
I feel great about it. For instance, the new accounts I mentioned a moment ago that came in from a company called Zion Systems, and they concentrate in the nonprofit sector. They work, they're dedicated to providing payment capabilities, etc., to, for instance, Christian organizations. They brought us the one account that will do a $12 million with us this year is such an account, and they work in those circles, and they're now an independent, what we call an independent sales organization with us. So they'll be focusing on more and more of those nonprofit organizations, which they already do work for in the marketing world.
Very interesting. It's always interesting to see this side of the business, because we talk about so many different things on this program, and you forget about the financial processing of credit cards and debit cards. Again, Mutual Merchant Services, MUTM. Gil, why is this a good time right now for folks to take a closer look at this company? Well,
it's a great time because of the new relationships we just set up. One is such a relationship is with the Gatlin Group. And Joe Gatlin has 30 years of professional experience and sits as a voting member of the Port of Citizens Advisory Committee out of the Port of L.A. And he has relationships with all the businesses throughout the Port of L.A. He too has just become an independent sales organization for us. So he'll be going to all of those companies, getting all of their electronic transactions for us all throughout the port. That's huge. Exciting. Very, very big.
Again, MUTM is a stock symbol, Mutual Merchant Services Incorporated. Gil, we're initiating coverage of the company this week. We'll be watching you pretty much through first quarter of '09. Hope to get more updates from you during that period of time.
Great, great. Thank you very much.